welcome to Wednesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic and one of my favourite types of Sudoku. This is the new rule set, the Fog of War, and the puzzle is called Rule Breakers, and it's by AstralSky. Now, I don't know that much about AstralSky's puzzles. I think that they've been producing a whole series of Fog of War puzzles on Logic Masters Germany. I might be wrong about that, but I think that's where, in my mind, the name sits. The testers say this is a very challenging puzzle, so I might be at war in the Fog of War. We shall see. And this, of course, is this new rule set where basically, if we put correct digits in the puzzle, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to get a digit correct by luck. But let's say I got this digit correct, it would reveal all of those cells and clear the fog away. So it's absolutely fascinating. Now, you mustn't cheat though, because what you could do is just fill in this digit with 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9, and one of them will be correct and it will reveal the fog. That is not the idea of Fog of War puzzles. The idea is that we should be able to logically deduce what is going on from just the information that's living in the white cells. So I'll read you the rules in a moment or two. What do I have to tell you about today? Loads of cool stuff. Why don't I start with some birthdays, actually? Brandon, it's your... it's your birthday yesterday. I'm a day late, but hopefully not $1 short with that. Your wife, Christine, wrote to us, but I think she only wrote very recently. It might even have been today. So I don't think you can blame me, Brandon, but I hope you had a brilliant day, of course, and lots of chocolate cake. And then Felix, I think you turned 12 yesterday. I think it was yesterday again. I'm still not sure about the timings. Some people's requests for birthday announcements are coming in really, really late on the day that they want the announcement made. I think you're in Switzerland, and your friend Maurice wrote to us, and Maurice said that you do puzzles after school, and that is, I mean, in my view, Sudoku puzzles should be required homework, because frankly, these Sudoku puzzles that we do on the channel are far more interesting than most of the homework I ever did, and probably more educational as well. But anyway, Felix, I hope you had a great day yesterday. Next, I'm going to share with you another crossword clue. This is today's crossword clue on Twitter, which comes replete with a Sean Bean picture that the AI created for me. I wanted to share this with you because this is one of my favourite cryptic crossword clues of all time. And here's the clue. Sean Bean could mould enough dough to make my pie high. 3-6. And the AI has indeed created Sean Bean moulding the dough to make a pie high. Absolutely amazing stuff. I won't tell you the answer, but if you want to find out how it works, go to @crypticcracking and you'll see a load of tweets explaining it. But that is, I promise you, that is one of my favourite crossword clues of all time. I think it was the constructor Elgin who came up with that a few years ago in the Listener. Now, it's the 1st of March, isn't it? Now, that means it's Patreon Reward Day. So all our patrons, get yourselves over to Patreon and download Alice's Adventures in Sudokuland by the Paint by Numbers Institute. It is absolutely marvellous. It's complete with lots of poetry as well. And you'll have a lot of fun with it. You've got, I think, just 3 puzzles to solve to enter the competition, but there are 12 Sudokus in there altogether, and if you solve all 12 of them by the 10th of March, you get a shout out on the channel. And speaking of shout outs on the channel, the following people managed to solve all of February's reward, which was Glum Hippo's amazing fossil hunt. So well done to Heather Trout, Michael Lieberman, Leland Spencer, could be Leland Spencer, I'm not sure, Jamie Stearns, Cheesy, Brendan and Evelyn's only 10, so that is super solving, Jacob Martin, Andrew Houchin, Brendan Blackwell, Andy Glidden, Paul Biankowski, Daniel Bond, Garrett Smith, Input J, Belinda Lomini. Belinda, I have to say, your name, it's mellifluous, the way it flows off the tongue. I think you've got a very good name. Stefano and Stephanie, the Stephs, completed the hunt. The Sudoku Bear completed the hunt. as did Martin Arts. Well done, all of you. I've still got several days left of Glum Hippo shout-outs to do, so don't worry if you haven't heard your name yet. That is because we are a few days behind. But that is all my news. Let us have a look at Rule Breakers by AstralSky, and I will read you what we've got to do. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Shade all duplicates in killer cages. The remaining digits sum to the total given at the top leftmost cell in the killer cage. So, okay, so what is this saying? That is saying that, or maybe I should read the rest of the rules. Hang on, let's read all the rules. So we've got to shade all the duplicates in killer cages with the remaining digits, the unshaded digits, summing to the total given. Shaded cells cannot be orthogonally adjacent, so that means shaded cells can't share a long edge. And all unshaded cells, including those not part of any cage, form an orthogonally connected area. Okay, every killer cage must have duplicates, and killer cages never overlap. Right. How on earth am I going to explain my interpretation of these rules? So what that's saying is that within this 5 cage are unshaded digits that sum to 5, but that 5 cage has to contain duplicated digits as well. And the duplicated digits don't count towards the total of 5. We don't know how many duplicates there are. We don't know if they're... I suppose you could have a digit being duplicated more than once. Or you could have different duplicated digits, providing they are duplicated. And then somehow there's some shading trickery going on as well. So we shade in cells that are duplicated, and we've got to make sure that the unshaded cells in the grid overall form an orthogonally connected area, which means that we could connect them all across long edges. Well, that's what we've got to do. We've got to do that and see through the fog. Do have a go at the puzzle. The way to play is to click the link under the video. I'm just realising I've got my wrong glasses on. Sorry. Yeah, the way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. That hasn't helped me. There is a period of adjustment when I put on these glasses. Okay, so we get a given digit, which is a 3 that's not in the corner of an 18 cage that we don't know the shape of. We've got a 44 cage here. Right, okay, I can say something instantly about this cage then. This cage has a duplicated 1 in it. And I know this because of a secret that I only tell my favourite people. But of course, if you're still watching this video, you're definitely in that group. You're in that part of the Venn diagram. Now, the secret is that any complete box of a Sudoku, any complete row, any complete column, by the rules of Sudoku, contains the digits 1 to 9 once each. If you add up the digits 1 to 9, you get 45. So imagine there was a cage that contained no repeated digits in this puzzle, and it was 9 cells large. Well, it would sum to 45. So this cage, I'm going to contend, must have unduplicated digits that are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 in order to reach a 44 total. But we're told that every cage contains a duplicate, so there is some number of 1s in this 44 cage that are duplicated and therefore don't count towards the total. Now that tells us that this is at least a 10-cell cage, which is already getting into ludicrous levels of nonsense. Oh, and there's another ludicrous level of nonsense down here. Right, so we've got... Oh, no, hang on. Well, no, they can't be the same cage, can they? They can't be the same cage because it says that the killer cage total is given in the top leftmost cell of the cage. So these are different nonsense cages. Because that must be the top leftmost cell of this 44 cage, and that simultaneously, obviously, that can't be true for both those cages simultaneously if they were the same cage. We've got a small cage here and a small cage here and an unnumbered cage here. Maybe we start with this one. Let's have a think about this. So this is a 5 cage. I'm saying, as my brain, as my mouth was saying those words, I was expecting my brain to come up with something sensible to say about this 5 cage, and I realised that my brain was not coming up with anything, and that was bad. Well, okay, so this 5 cage, I suppose we could say one thing about it, which is that it doesn't have 3 counting digits in it. Because if it had 3 counting digits that weren't duplicated, the minimum they would be 1, 2, and 3, and they would sum to 6, which is bigger than 5. There's a knowledge bomb for you. So this either has a single 5 and 2 duplicated digits, i.e. So it's a 3-cell cage and 2 of the numbers are duplicated, which well, yeah, actually, okay, if that was a 3-cell cage, you can't put 5 in that cell and then say that those 2 cells, for example, were duplicated, or these 2 cells are duplicated. That's nonsense. So the only way this could be a 3-cell cage, given it can't go into row 1, because then the cage total would be in row 1, would be if it did that, with that being a 5. And these 2 would be duplicated. But I think I've just had a horrible thought as well. I was about to say it could be a 4-cell cage, but then I suddenly thought, could you get arrangements like that? You probably can't, but imagine, I'm just going to highlight that for a moment. Imagine that, so we've got a dog. Imagine there was a dog that visited the grid with a 3 for its tail, and that digit repeated somewhere in there, that digit repeated somewhere in there, and that digit repeated somewhere over there, and there was a 5 in there. What's wrong with that? The answer is I don't know. There may be nothing wrong with that, which means that this is not where we start. Because although we can draw a pretty dog in the picture, unfortunately, the way that we could draw or make repeated cells in the cage means that actually the load cage total is a bit of a false. Oh, it's a bit of a red herring, isn't it? Because actually you can build some quite large cages once you allow for repeated digits. So this one, those 3, it looks like they're in the same cage. Now, actually, this one might be more restricted than this one, because I'm struggling to work out what this means. It can't go here, can it? Because then this should be the cage total, because this is the top leftmost cell in this cage. Those 3 digits can't all count, because they would add up to more than 4. So what? Well, at least one of these digits is a repeated digit. But how do we... So I feel like this cell's got to be part of this 4 cage. Oh, hang on. I've just remembered one of the rules. One of the rules was that shaded cells cannot be orthogonally adjacent. So I can't... Oh, so my dog up there might have been total nonsense, you know. Because I think when I was drawing my dog, I was assuming that I could sort of put any number of repeated digits in that sequence. But I can't. I could only put 2 in. Because otherwise we'd have a domino of shaded cells, which were not allowed. Right. So down here, it's not possible that all three of those are repeated digits. Two of them could be repeated. Although even that's tricky now I say that. How could we do that? I don't really know how to I don't know how to pencil mark this. Let's say that we're going to try and make both of those repeated in this 4 cage. Well, that digit now can't be repeated, because if that was repeated, it's orthogonally next to that one. So that would have to be in the cage and not repeated. Then that one and that one could both be repeated digits, I think. Good grief. So even in this weird world, we can build enormous cages. Oh no, well actually, no, you can't do that, because that's going to pen in my 44 cage. Oh, this must be simpler than I'm making it. It's really hard to do anything here. That 44 cage, if this was the structure of the, if we had a sort of pelican as our, or a parrot as our 4 cage, this 44 cage can't get out. It's only got 4 cells. It needs to have at least 10, we worked out. So, okay, so probably there is some restriction in terms of how yeah, okay, here's perhaps the point. This cage, I'll make it yellow, has to take that cell. Because if it didn't, it's confined to that many cells. That's only 8 cells, and it's meant to have a repeat as well. It can't come up here, because then the cage total would need to be there rather than there. So it's got to come out here, and then that's only 9 cells. It's got to be at least 10, because it's got to have 8 counting digits and at least 2 repeated ones. So I think we've got to go there as well. So now my 4 cage, well, okay, so now my 4 cage, which must have a repeated digit, has to take this cell. Because if it starts coming over there, it's going to have too many counting cells. Yeah, it's got far too many counting cells. Because I can only put every other cell as a repeated digit. So which means that the cells in between the repeated digits would count, and that's not going to work, is it? We can't have 3 of those in a 4 cage. And if we only come to there, those 2 could repeat, and that would be 3 in a row. And if we came down here, I've got 3 counting digits again by alternation. So it's not. I'm sure there's an easier way of seeing this, but I'm going to take my purple out because I don't know how this cage works yet. But I think this cell is necessary in order to make sure that we have a repeated digit in the 4 cage at all. Now we can do those in yellow because we need to connect these up. So now the question is it possible for this to be in green as well? So if that's in green, and we do something like those, no, they can't all be the same digit, can they? So if I did do that, this is really complicated. This is really complicated. If I did do that, it can't work, is what I'm just going to sort of assert. Those 2 cells could be a 1-3 pair, adding up to 4. But I can't. These can't all be the same digit because they're only in 2 different boxes. So I'd need to extend this again, and there's nowhere to extend it. You know, if I extend it there, that has to be a counting digit because it's connected to those 2. What about if I try a different shading? No, because that's got 3 counting digits. I don't think this can be in. It's complicated, but I don't think this can be in. I cannot see a way of building this cage in a way where I only have a maximum of 2 counting digits if I put that in. So I'm going to say that's not in, which doesn't help me with my 44 cage, which actually has to take that cell, and definitely not that cell because of the cage boundary. Okay, well if that's true, this has to be a repeated digit, doesn't it? It has to be. And because we can't repeat a digit in the same box, I'm struggling to view this cage now as having 2 repeated digits, because I don't see where I could put, given I can't come up here and I can't come over here, there's just not space for 2 repeated digits. So that digit repeats up there in one of those 2 cells, and that means that we do have a 1-3 pair somehow in this 4 cage. And because that's a repeated digit, that is not a repeated digit. So that really is a 1 or a 3. But we don't know which of those is repeating. Wow, mind blown. I've got to put... Okay, so now we're going to come back to the 44 cage again, because that has to have 2 1s in it. And I don't know where those 2 1s go, but I do know which boxes they're in, because there's definitely a 1 in the 4 cage over here. Hang on a minute. Am I right about that? Yes, I am. I am right about that. I can't have 2 repeats in here. And I know that those 3 cells are all in the 4 cage. So there's no possibility of just having a solitary 4 in here. Because then I've got to have 2 repeats, and that gets me into trouble. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so yes, so there must be a 1 in this box in yellow, because we need a repeated 1 in the 44 cage. And there must be a 1 in this box in yellow, because I need a repeated 1 in the 44 cage. And because the repeated 1 cannot come from here, because the yellow is in, the 1 is in green in box 8, not in yellow. And we can't take any cells up here in this 44 cage, because then this cage total would be in the wrong place. This is mind-boggling. This is mind-boggling. So there is a 1 somewhere over here, and there is a 1 somewhere over here. And now I can say one more thing, which is that cage is now exactly 10 cells large. Because before this, it could have been 11, 12, it could have been, well, it probably couldn't have been. It could have been 11, because it could have had 1s in it from each of these 3 boxes, as well as the digits 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 being the unrepeated digits. But now we've worked out that because it can't take the 1 from box 8, and it can't take 1s from any other box, the only ones it can take are in these 2, so it has 10 cells. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, so now one of those 2 cells I think is a 1. Because this is a 10 cell cage, it can't join to that cage. That cage is its own colour now. I'm just going to double check that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, that's really weird. That boundary there, the fact that that goes up there, means if I do join yellow to red, it's creating too large a cage. So the 1 in this box, which belongs to yellow, I think now is in one of those 2 cells. 3, 4, 5. I mean, it could be 1. It could take the yellow in the corner. I mean, it could take both, in which case that would be a 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is no good, is it? It would have to be 9, 10, and then it takes that cell. If it took both of those. But if it doesn't take both of those, I think it can get to this square. But what does this mean? What does this mean? I know something about the other 44 cage. I know that the other 44 cage... No, this could still have 3 ones in it. Because it could collect ones from that box, and this box, and can't have them all cancel out. What we do know is that this can't take the ones from these 3 boxes. So its maximum size is 11 now, this cage here. Those 3 cells are in the same cage. Let's just do some due diligence here to try and make ourselves feel better about what we're learning about the puzzle. Those 2 cells are in the same cage. I'm running out of colours I want to use. I could use purple. What was that? Oh, that purple was saying that that's the repeated digit in this cage, which is in one of those 2 cells. Oh, I've got it. I've got a digit. After half an hour, I've got a digit. Right, I think. Yeah, that purple digit is a counting digit in the 44 cage because it's not a 1 or a 3. So it has to appear in the 44 cage. Well, it doesn't appear in those cells, and it doesn't appear in these cells because purple is up here as well. So it has to appear in box 9, but by Sudoku, if it's in the 44 cage, the only cell it can be in is there. But it's not a 1, because we know 1 and 3 are in there, and that therefore they're not there, which would repeat the 1 in this cage and make the 4 cage impossible. This is seriously clever stuff. So what I think that means, and this is going to be the great moment, is that we can put 1 in here, because this can't be a 1. But when we put 1 in here, we're going to clear the fog, I hope. Yes. Yes. Right, and so... so that's a 3. Oh, I get 2 digits. Oh, I did. Okay, this is great. So now... Well, so now there's a 1 down here. I've got a 20 cage, an enormous 20 cage as well, actually. Yeah, look, this 20 cage, there's no boundaries on the right hand side of those 2 cells, so it's taking at least, it's taking actually. It's exactly those. That is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a 9 cell 20 cage, so that's got to have oodles of repeated digits in it. But it can't. Right, I actually know how many repeated digits are in this cage, I think. Yeah, because this cage can't come up here, otherwise this cage total's in the wrong place. Now, it's a 9 cell cage, so if it only had 1 repeat, it would have 7 digits counting towards its total, and the triangular number for 7 is 28, i.e. what's 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7, it's 28, that's too many. So there must be more than 1 repeated digit, but we're only dealing with 2 boxes here. So we can't have 1 digit repeating 3 times or anything like that. We must have exactly 2 repeated digits, because it's not possible for all 3 of those to repeat, or all 3 of those would be repeaters and adjacent, which is not allowed under the rules. So those 2 digits have to be repeating digits. And this cage has 5 counting digits in it. Right, I'm going to have to think about this now, aren't I? I'm going to have to find some way of labelling. Maybe I know that... I'm just trying to think about this. What I want to do, I might use circles actually. Maybe I use purple circles. So if I do that, that's telling me that that digit is a repeating digit. I know that digit is a repeating digit because it repeats down here. Oh, look, that, yeah, this is immediately sensible, because that can't be a 1. Because if it was a 1, it would be a repeating 1, and it's adjacent to this digit, which I know is repeating in one of those two squares in the 4 cage. So one of these two cells is a 1. One of those two cells is a repeater. Both of these two cells have to be repeaters in the 20. Oh, this is terrible. I can't see it. Ah! Okay, all right. Abandon that plan. Let's try a different colour, maybe blue. Well, that's quite nice. Yeah, I can see that. Okay, so blue, 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 blue. Now, what we also need to do now is to have a way of identifying cells that now are not repeaters. Oh, hang on. Yeah. Yes, indeed we do, because if we had done that, it would have been immediately apparent to me that that cell is not a repeater, because if that was a repeater, it's adjacent to another repeater. So the repeater here is there, in fact, and therefore I know that digit is a 1, and if that digit is a 1, I get more reveal of fog. Those two digits are now the same, so we should give that the purple speckle, which is going down here. So that digit is not a 1. And, well, this is fascinating now, because this 44 cage, I think, well, it's taking those cells, and it's taking, oh, well, it's coming into that cell, which means it's coming into that cell. So it's coming into that cell. How many cells have we got now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So we're up to 8. We know this is at least 10 in size. But what I've noticed here, we know that the repeated digit in the 44 cage is a 1. And that can't go there by Sudoku or in either of those two cells, because it would be next to these. So this is now exactly a 10-cell cage, because it cannot contain a 1 here that's a repeated digit. Oh. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? That's right. So there's a. So does that mean that has to be a 1? Yeah. There is no way. It cannot be a 1. I think that's right. If this wasn't a 1, how does this have a repeated 1 in it? I'm just a bit nervous about that. Is there some construction of this cage that I've not appreciated? Like, oh, there is. Well, although not easily. I suddenly thought, could it do that? No, it can't do that, because then this wall wouldn't be necessary. So that's just nonsense. It would also break that. No, that's clearly not in the 44. That's clearly, none of those are in the 44, and none of these can have a 1 in. So there's only 2 1s available to repeat in those two cages. And this, well, if any of those were in the 44, they would have the cage total in them. And these can't have the 44, because we can't get round the 32 without going across the top. So I think that is right. I'm going to put 1 in there, and it is right. It revealed some fog. And it revealed more of this blue cage. Look, that's all got to be... Oh, actually loads more of it, because not only is that blue, and this blue, and this blue, but there's no boundary at the bottom there. Look, that cell has not got a bottom boundary on it. So the yellow is now coming round the bottom here. Oh, the yellow's forced anyway. The yellow just does that. And that should be 10 cells, which it is. This cage is completely replete of all it can't grow anymore without forcing this 32 to be in the wrong place. So that's a 7-cell cage, which must have at least 1 repeated digit. And that repeated digit is not that digit, because that digit cannot repeat anywhere. It sees the rest of the cage by Sudoku. So that is a normal digit. Right, we're going to have to find a way of labelling up normal digits that's not going to be offensive. Or maybe I use a different colour of circle. Or no, I'm going to find that confusing, I think. Maybe I'll use a blue X. So everything that's orthogonal to a repeated digit is a counting digit for the purposes of its cage. Also, we've got to be careful. There was something about making sure everything formed an area. All unshaded cells, so all our X's in the puzzle have to connect with one another. That's an X there. Yeah, because look, we've got the bones of a sort of wall here. Oh, I see. I'm going to struggle to see this, you know. I might. Maybe what I've got to do is actually go to. Yeah, that I can really see. Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that for a little while anyway. And then I'm going to X all of these cells. At least there's no doubt now about what's going on. I can see this quite clearly. And I would venture to say it is better if I can see the Sudoku in order to solve it. Although that's not... I mean, it is fairly garish, isn't it? Okay, so do I now know where the 1 goes in this 44 cage? I.e. the one that's in this box? The answer is very nearly. It's got to be in one of those 4 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's got to be there. That's beautiful. Good grief. It can't not be there because this cage is only 10 cells large by logic. So it's got to be there because, and it is there because it works. Because we couldn't have ever got to here without making this cage 11 cells large and it needing more than 2 repeated ones. So look, we orangify the whole thing here. That's a repeated digit, which we now know is a black circle digit. These digits all turn X'd in. Oh yeah, now here, and this is even more complicated, but look, it looks like we've got to be, yeah, this is huge. Well, it's not, no, it's not huge. That's totally overplaying it. But look, this square must count, and indeed we would have known that because we know it's the 1 that's repeating in the 44. But it must count because if that was a circle, that 3 there is boxed in by sort of circle digits, which is not going to work. That's the same there. Oh, which we know in the 44 cage. So that's, so this is circled. Those lose their thingy thing. All of these have got to be X'd because we know that there are only 2 repeated digits. So that's another extension of this wall in the bottom of the grid. So if that square's a 1, then I have got a wall. I've got to get out over here. That's not that easy to do because we know these 2 digits are repeating in the 20 cage. Okay. Yeah, okay. Right. So, I think there is definitely something to say about this. This cell and this cell are repeating in the 20 cage in order to keep the 20 cage down to a sensible number. Now, they cannot be those 2 digits. Because if they're those 2 digits, that digit is an X digit and it won't connect to its friends. So it can't be these 2, which means one of these 2 is repeated. Now that must be that digit, mustn't it? Because it can't be this one that's repeating in here. But whichever one of these is a circle, look, if that's a circle, you've either got to make this a circle or this a circle now, and however you do it, you're creating a wall. And similarly, if you put the circle here, So these two are both x's. Well, that still requires that to be a circle, and that still creates a wall. So I don't think you can fence this in. I think if you make that a 1, the point is that we don't have a clue, to be honest, how the circles are disposed within these 4 red cells over here. But we do know that there is some sort of wall being created. Yeah, the simplest way to see it is either this is a repeat, in which case you've already got a wall, or if that's not a repeat, those two have to be the repeaters, and that creates a different wall. So we have some sort of wall here. That cannot be a repeat. So that's the repeat. These two are x's, and that places a 1 in the corner, not a 3. And that leaves us with questions. We've actually done quite well in terms of building the regions at the bottom. We've got a 20 cage here, which we know has 9 cells, 4 of which are basically not counting. So it's got 5 real cells, but it has no 1s in it by Sudoku. So the 5 counting cells in the 20 cage have got to be 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, which are the lowest digits that they could be, and they do add up to 20. So these 3 digits, which are definitely counting digits, are from 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm really struggling to see the pencil marks there. But I don't know how else to do this. I feel like I've got to keep track of the walls, and I've got to keep track of the cells that count, if you see what I mean. I'm sure there is a better way of doing it. I just don't know what it is. That's not a... Ooh, so it might be the 3 in this region, because this given 3 looks a bit like it's trying to do something, doesn't it? Yeah, we know there's a counting 3 in the 20 cage, so that the 3 is not happening in the repeaters. So there is a 3 in one of those 3 positions, not in the corner. Sorry. Okay. I want to say that these 2 digits now don't they have to be high digits by Sudoku? It feels right. Because I know this digit repeats somewhere over here, don't know where, but it does. Between these two, let's say it repeated there. Between those 2 cells, if these 2 cells included a 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6, you couldn't put a counting 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 in the red region, and we know that the red region has got a counting 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So neither of these circled cells can be a 1. Neither of them can be 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6, so they are 7, 8 or 9. And they're repeats, so that one's repeating in one of those 2 cells. And that one we don't know where it's repeating. Golly gosh, okay. That is a counting cell, isn't it? Because it's not capable of being a 1. I'm sorry, I know. Oh, I thought I could do Sudoku then, but I can't. This cage now has got to have... It's got to have those cells in it. And that one, look. and that one, not this one, that's definitely not in it because it's fenced off. Could be this one as well. Right, and we're looking at an 18 count in this cage, but we can have some repeats obviously. And we've only got 2 cells at the moment which are definitely counting. So we only need 1 more definitely counting cell to get to 18. You can't do 18 in 2 cells because you'd be double nining, but 3 cells would be fine. I just don't think this is under any pressure at all, is it? I mean, obviously within those, so, well, we could have 3 repeats maybe. No, we can't have 3 repeats because then, yeah, okay, you've got a maximum of 2 repeats, I think. If you had 3 repeats, because you can't repeat in there, it would have to be those 3 that are repeating, but these 2 would connect and that's not allowed. So there's a maximum of 2 repeats. Which is fine. That's bringing the counting cells down to sort of 3 or 4. If you had 1 repeat, yeah, you could. I mean, you could even repeat those 2, and then you'd have 5 cells, adding up to. Oh, although maybe not with the 1. Oh, hang on, I hadn't seen the 1. I hadn't thought about the 1. If all of those 5 count, they would add up to 20 at least, and that's higher than 18. Okay, so there definitely does need to be one of these digits is a repeating digit. Now, that one, if that was repeating, that would do damage. Hang on, I know one of those is repeating. I thought I proved that earlier. Yeah, because those 2 can't be a repeat, and I've got 2 repeats to find in red. So if I make that repeat, if that's a repeat, that's a repeat, and that's broken the puzzle. Wow. Okay, that's not a repeat. Because if it is, that one has to be a repeat. And look, I'm dangerously close to creating a wall here. But I've still got 1 more repeating digit to place. It's this one. It can't go here by Sudoku. It can't go there. It would be connected orthogonally to another repeater. So it has to go there. And that is penning in some stuff down here, which is not allowed to be penned in. So the upshot of that is that's an X. So I've now got 3 counting digits. And I know there must be a repeat in one of these. So that implies that is not a repeat. That's surprising, because that's going to give me another non-repeating digit. Hang on. If both of these were not repeats, that's 5 counting digits. Oh no, hang on. I'm thinking of sort of J. Dyer type rules. No, I'm not. That's fair. If one of these must repeat, where does it repeat? It could repeat here. But it can't repeat here. Oh, right. So what could happen, and what probably does happen, is those 2 repeat. I didn't think of that. Okay. This is complicated. Yeah, okay. Let me just think about this for a moment or two. Sorry. I know that I'm sort of just stopping. If the 3 repeats, that would be an X. Okay, I've proved one thing in my brain now, which is that there are, within the green cage, there are 4 digits at least now that count. I.e. that don't repeat. And that's because if you consider the 3 clue here, if this 3 clue is a repeat, that's not a repeat, and that gives us a 4th X in green. And the only other option is that this is not a repeat, in which case it is counting. So there are at least 4 digits now in green that can contribute towards the total. So if that digit, if we're going to, right, so can we prove that this is either a repeat or, I think this is going to be a repeated 3 is my hunch. Let me just think about this for a second or two. If that is a repeated digit, you can see from the structure of the cage the only cell it could repeat in is this one. Because it can't repeat in its row. These 2 apparently are not repeaters, and it can't repeat there if that's in green. So those 2 would have to be in, which would make this cell here an X by the power of Grayskull. It would mean that we've now got 4 counting cells that don't include 1s or 3s. So we'd have to have 2s, 4s, 5s and 6s, which wouldn't add up to the right number. So it would have to be a 2, 4, 5, 7. 2, 4, 5 and 7 would add up to 18. And that would work, I think. Okay, I don't know what to do with that knowledge, to be honest. That would mean, and that would mean that was a repeater as well, which would force the, oh, hang on, hang on, I'd forgotten the orthogonal problem. Oh, this is a problem. Houston, we have a problem. Yeah, this doesn't work. Right, so mathematically it might work, but it doesn't work in terms of stuff. Let me explain. If this square is repeating, it has to repeat there. But now, how many repeats are possible within green? And the point is, this now can't be a repeater. Because if it's a repeater, the only cell it could repeat in is that, which would put 2 cells together that would repeat. So that has to count, but that breaks the total now. Now we've got 5 counting cells that are not 1 in the 18 cage, which is going to add up to at least 20. So in fact, this cell here, this one, cannot be a repeater. So it's an X. I don't know about that one now. But that means... Or did I know about this one? I can't remember whether I knew about this one or not. I don't think I did know about that one. I think I put that in because I made that a repeater, and that made that an X. Right, so that is a counting digit. Which... Oh, now I'm losing track. Now I'm losing track of my brain. No, okay, no, I've got it. This is a counting digit, but I worked out that either the 3 was a counting digit or it was a repeater, in which case that was a counting digit. So between these 2 cells there is a 5th counting digit now. So those 6 cells contain at least 5 counting digits, and And if none of them was a 1, they would add up to 20. So one of them is a 1, and the only one that can be a 1 is that one. Wow. Oh, and I got the fog of war cleared. Whoa, that is a vicious piece of logic. It's an incredibly clever setting. 1, looks like the 1's going to go in the 5 cage, but I'm not going to think about that yet. Let's keep going on this cage. Oh, so that's not a repeater. Well, okay, so the 3 has to be a repeater. Those 2 digits can't repeat. So the 3 is a repeater, which is, well, I thought it was going to be the 3 repeating with this one, but it's not. So this digit now is X, that digit's X, that digit's X, that digit's X. This is a repeater, and we know it's a 3. So this is going to clear fog. Oh no, it didn't work. Why didn't it work? It did work. Okay, maybe I clicked off the cell or something. That's not a 3 anymore. Which is, well, that knocks 2 3s out of possibilities for 3s in the corner. So the only one we've got left is this one, which I don't know if that could be a 3 or not. Now, what has this done for us? Do we now know with any certainty what these 4 digits are? They've got to add up to 17, not using 1s and 3s. So 2, 4, 5 and 6 is 17. So they are minimum. Right, these are minimized. 2, 4, 5, 6. Hard to see, but that is what they are. That's got to be an X because it's next to a 3. That's, oopsie, this is creating the bones of a wall, isn't it? In case we're going to need that. I'm really sorry, by the way, if people are struggling to see the pencil marks. All I can say is I am struggling to see them as well. I'm just very nervous about getting rid of them because that's not going to be... well, I'm going to be depriving myself of logic that I might need. Now, I've got 7, 8 and 9 here from this 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sextuplet. I'm sure that's somehow important. It's or not. Oh, bobbins. Okay, alright, so what do we do now? Can we... Oh, that cell is an X, believe it or not, because those 3 would pen in a circle there. That's an X. You see, if I'd got rid of the X's, I would never have spotted that. I've now got 4 X's in my 32 clue. Oh, hang on. Hang on. Well, I know what's repeating in my 32 cage now, because that digit cannot repeat. We said that before. Because it sees the whole of the rest of the cage, and there's only 2 cells left that can repeat, so that's a repeat. Which means we can put the X's in. Let me put the X's in. It means that we get another extension of this wall here. Those 2 digits are the same, so they're getting transposed up there. So this is 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 into those squares. Okay, alright, so now I want to come back to this cage, I think. Those 2 digits are interesting in box 5 because they can't repeat in the orange, and that digit I've just proved is a low digit. So I think it's got to fit into one of those squares by Sudoku. So where do we put 7s, 8s and 9s in this box? Those 2 squares is the answer. So that's a 7. Oh. These are 7s, 8s and 9s. The moment I can, I'm getting rid of these X's. these are not... They're sort of helpful and unhelpful at the same time. Do I know... Well, that's... Okay, that's an uncaged cell. So in effect, that's an X, isn't it? Let's put that in. We might as well put in the easy wins if we get them. We know that there's a closure of the sort of, we know that something up here is closing the root, don't we? So we have to allow whatever. So this is sort of this is like, you know, this is Scylla and this is Charybdis, and we definitely have to float through there, but it looks like that's working at the moment. Right, I've got something here. Okay, I said those two cells had to be high digits because they're repeating somewhere in here, and they're therefore seeing the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The same is true of that digit. That digit goes down there from our purple highlighting. So between these two digits... Oh, hang on, no, that might be wrong. No, that is right. That is right. That's fine. I think that's right. I think that digit has to be not low again. By not low, I mean it can't be. It's... Yes, no, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. These two digits between them, or these two digits which are the same digit, between the two of them, they see the whole of the red cage. And the red cage, we know, contains 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, because that's how we're getting to the 20 total. So this repeated digit is not a 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 or a 1. So it is a 7, 8 or a 9. Those three squares are all the same, and they are all 7, 8, 9. Now I've got a 7, 8, 9 triple in box 8. Which means these squares are 2, 4, 5 and 6. I've got a 7, 8, 9 triple in column 7. So that digit's purple now. That digit's purple. That digit's not purple. Oh, right. Okay. So now that digit is purple, believe it or not, because remember we said those two digits go into these two squares in box 5. Well, that one, if it went there, it would see itself through the mirror that is column 4. So that digit and that digit go into the same, which means purple is in one of those two cells. Don't know which one. We're getting to ludicrous levels of pencil marking now. I mean, this is one of the most complicated sort of colouring stroke, loop stroke, X'd puzzles that we've ever seen. And I've still got most of the grid covered in fog. Oh, my phone is buzzing. That's fine. The purple is now ruled out entirely of the 32 cage I'm seeing. Look, because I've got 4 purples covering the 4 rows of the 32 cage. But I don't think... We've got 5 counting cells for the 32 cage. 8, 7, 6, 5 and 4 is 30. 9, 7, 6, 5, 4 is 31. Oh, that's it. Wow. Wow, what a digit that is. That is absolutely beautiful. AstralSky. Good grief. This is magical. Right. Purple is 7, I'm going to allege. And that is because the 32 cage has 5 counting digits in it. Imagine one of those digits was not a 9. Well, then we could make those 5 digits 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, which by my count made 30, not 32. So that's wrong. So if we were to put 9 in purple, we'd rule 9 out of the 32 cage and it would break. So we can take 9 out of all these. But if we took 8 out of the 32 cage and filled it with high digits 97654, we get 31. That's not good either. That's not 32. So the only digit you can take out of the 32 cage is a 7, which actually, look, let's, oh, hang on, why didn't that work? So these two are not 7 anymore. So there's now an 8 and a 9 down here somewhere in the red cage. And there's no 7 in the 32 cage. And I think that means it must be filled with 9, 8, 6 is 23, 5 and 4 for 32. So this is known. This is 4, 5, 6, 8, 9. Sorry, and I'm just pausing to try and understand what that means. So that means the repeated digit in the 32 cage is not 4, 5, 6, 8 or 9, and it's not 7. So it's a 1. It's not 1. It's a 2 or a 3 into these two squares. 2 or 3 is the repeated digit. It's not 3. Okay, it's 2. So I got more fog revealed. Goodness only knows what's going on there. This isn't right. Neither of those two squares are 2s now. So there's 2 up here. Is it safe to get rid of any of these crosses yet? I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm still nervous. I'm going to need wall logic in the top of the grid. 7 by Sudoku is in one of the purple cells, obviously, because purple is our 7 colour. We could... 1 is in one of those cells by Sudoku. I've got nothing here. What on earth do we do now? That digit lives in the corner of the grid, I'm going to claim, that corner, because it can't repeat in its own cage. It's not repeating in red, and it's not equal to 1 or 7 by pencil mark. So it lives in the corner of the grid. It's 2, 4, 5 or 6. That gives me a 2, 4, 5, 6 quadruple in the bottom row. So I've not put 3, 8 and 9 into the bottom row. So that is, well, that's probably going to be a repeat, isn't it then? Because we've got 8 and 9 as repeaters. So that's 3, 8 or 9. These are 3, 8 or 9. That's so annoying. That is so annoying. That square sees the whole of the 32 cage, and a 1 and a 2 actually. So that's a 3 or a 7. It's not a 3, right? Okay. I think I could have got that before, but I didn't think of it. That cell is a naked single 7. And it gets some more reveals, and that is the purple digit, so we can crystallize our knowledge on that front. That's not a 7 anymore, which we could have got just by being diligent about our pencil marking. Okay, and we've revealed the entirety actually of a 20 cage, which is exciting. Yeah, okay. Where is the repeated digit in my 20 cage? And the answer is I can't repeat that in those 3 cells, and that one's got an X in it, so that's got to be a repeat. Aha! Which means that's not a repeat, that's not a repeat. Obviously, that's outside of a cage. So one of those 2 is repeated here, which is probably important. That's an extension of the wall. We don't need no education. Although I feel I I am a bit short of education. Why? Oh no, that's okay. I was suddenly thinking there was a relationship between these two cells, but there isn't. Or, well, there's only a sort of wall relationship. There's not a digital relationship. Okay. Those two digits are the same, aren't they? Is that helpful? I don't know. I just don't know. That digit and that digit are the same, which means they go in one of those three positions. 8, 9 pair here. So we've got 2, 4, 5 and 6 at the top. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. What now? Is this in some way obvious? I don't know. I don't know is the short answer. Could I? I don't know what to do. Is there some... Do I know more about the 5 cage now? I didn't like this 5 cage earlier. It was thoroughly unpleasant. Because what did I... Oh, but when I looked at it before, I thought it could be a dog, didn't I? Many moons ago when we started to look at this. And then I realised it couldn't be a dog because it would have too many repeaters close together. Right. Right, let's think about that. Can we do something with that? So those two are clearly in the set. Those two are clearly in the 5 cage, but the 5 cage must grow more than that because we can't have a repeater in 2 cells in the same row. Right, and it can't ever go into row 1. And it can't ever, but looking at it, go into row 4. It just can't get there. Everything else in row 4 that it could get to is already in a cage. So there is a repeated digit then in the 5 cage in row 3. And where's that? Well, is it there? No, because then it would have to do something like that. And if those repeated, these 3 would count towards the total, and that's too many. So it's not repeating here. So it's either... Well, hang on, that's not in a cage. That is not in a cage, that cell. That's an X, in fact, isn't it? So there must be a repeater here in the 5 cage. There must be, which means we can circle it and redify it. And now this square is counting in the 5 cage. That creates another limb of the wall. And I think... How could this not be a repeat now? If that was counting... Yeah, it can't, that's not impossible. It's clearly impossible. There's nowhere to put this repeated digit. So that's repeating. What we don't know, we still don't know the shape of the 5 cage, because those two could be counting towards its total. So we don't know if it's a 1-cell 5 cage or if it's a 2-cell 5 cage. But we do know those are repeaters. And if those are repeaters, at least we get a little bit of extra knowledge that that's got to be... beautiful. So the 20 cages repeater has to be here now. Because if that was the repeater, it would create a diamond of nonsense. So this is an X. This puzzle is brilliant, isn't it? It's very, very difficult, is my other opinion about it. It is very difficult. But it is beautiful. Now, remember that there's some sort of wall in box 9. So we've got an enormous wall coming up here. So these have all got to be X'd in order to get out and connect these cells with the X's over here, which is rather interesting. So those two are repeaters, which I just don't think is good enough to be clever, is it? It might be, but I think if we could have got one of these seeing the whole of the 32 cage, that would have been really interesting. But these two cells, I think, could absolutely be in here, which is a bit annoying. So yeah, in fact, look, we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9 into these squares. Well, not 3 is not possible. 4, so 4, 5, 6, 8, 9. 4, 5, 6, 8, 9. I'm seeing nothing that eliminates all of those options, which is annoying. The 20 cage is made up of 3 cells now, isn't it? So it can't have 1 in it, because then those 2 cells would have to add up to 19. So that's something. That is something. Do I have an opinion about the 5 cage, whether it's going to be 2 cells? If it was 2 cells, it would have to be a 1-4 pair, because that cell can't be 2 or 3. So that would have to be a 4. That looks very possible to me. Goodness me, what do I do now? Let's do some double clickage. I'll double click 7s and see if we can do anything with those. 7 can't be the repeated digit here, because it would have to repeat back there, and that would be bad. So 7 is in one of those 2 cells. 7 is in one of these 3 cells. And 7 is in one of those 3 cells. No, okay, that's not useful, is it? What about 1s? Oh, yeah, well, okay, I've got 1s and 7s forming something over there. What about 2s? Oh, ugh. Actually, 2 in... Oh, okay, I didn't see this. 2 in box 7, where does that go? Apparently not down there, not there, not there, not there. So that's a naked single, which is ludicrous. So, oh no, I thought I was going to be able to do something with 2s in this orange cage, but no, that seems to be useless. 2's got to be... okay. I've got a 1-2 pair now at the top of this column, because I can't, just as I couldn't put 1 in the 20 cage, I can't put 2 in it without making those 2 double 9, and that will repeat a digit in a cage. Don't be naughty and do that. So I've got a 1-2 pair here, but that's not helping me with my 5 cage, unfortunately. 3. Okay, where does 3 go in this box now? I think that all of this stuff's been available for ages. Sorry about that if you've been shouting at me. Now in this box down here there's a 3 there, so that is not a 3. Aha! That is an 8 or a 9, and therefore it's definitely a repeat of one of those. So that becomes a circle, which means this can't be a circle, otherwise it would pen in that digit in the corner. So in fact, here's a point. Here's a point then. So that digit and that digit are the same, because obviously this one needs to repeat, and it's not the repeater that happens there. In fact, look, that's a 3 by pencil marking. So that digit is an 8 or a 9, and that's another circle digit. So that's beautiful. So this digit is now not 8 or 9 by Sudoku, because it sees an 8-9 pair. And that digit sees a 2. So in fact, yeah, that digit is a 4, 5 or a 6 by Sudoku. So that digit and that digit. Oh, hang on. Have I made a... No, okay. Yeah, this is good. Where does that digit go in yellow? It must be in yellow, because it must be a counting digit in yellow, and it can't go in there. So it must go there. And that's a 389 triple in box 7 now, so that's not 8 or 9. So this is 4. So there's a 4, 5, 6 triple in box 7. So that digit, that digit, that digit are the same. Oh, I see. And then that digit go down there somewhere. Right, so there's now an 8-9 pair in those 3 squares of my 32 cage, because the 8-9 don't live there anymore. And that must relate somehow. So that digit must be that digit. That's lovely. Okay. So these 2 digits are the same. I've got no way, I don't think, I've run out of ways of marking cells. Do I know? Well, I do actually. Yeah, let's think about this. That digit we worked out was the same as that digit because it had to appear somewhere in box 5 and it can't repeat in its cage. And that digit is demonstrably different from that digit, which is in the same column as it. So those 2 digits must go there, and that is an 8-9 pair in the top, well, in row 4. That doesn't do anything. I don't believe it. That's so mean. Oh. Bobbins face. Is that really true? Oh, I feel like I'm going to cry. Oh, come on. I think it might be true. Okay. Okay, so this digit is 3, 4, 5, or 6. No, it's not 3, it's 4, 5, or 6 by Sudoku. Golly gosh. Okay. Wow. How do we do this then? How on earth do we do this? There must be... I don't know what to do. Come on, use your brain. That's the thing to do when you're stuck, Simon. Right, these digits, because there's an 8-9 pair in there, these digits are from 4, 5, and 6, aren't they? Which I don't think is quite good enough. Oh, so that's a repeated digit, look. So that goes there. And that gives me a 4, 5, 6 triple in this column, which means I've got 7s, 8s, and 9s to place in this column, which is marginally interesting. Okay. Oh, good grief. Right. Okay, that 3 has suddenly come into its own. Where does 3 go in column 2? Not there, and it doesn't seem to be able to go anywhere other than there, so that's a 3 at the bottom. That's mean. Very vicious. We don't get any 3s in the corner in the puzzle, so there's no singing, although I will try and do an REM intro if I get time. So that's an 8 or a 9. Do we know... Do we know? I'm sure we do know somehow how these 8s and 9s relate to one another. 3. Oh, where does 3 go in column 3 now? Because it can't go there, and it can't be there, or it would repeat and see itself again. So 3 goes here. Now that might be in the fog. It is in the fog. What's it done? Oh. Well, that's perfect. That is absolutely perfect, because now let's come back to this 5 cage, which I've been worrying was taking those 2 cells. Now it doesn't. This is the only capable counting cell. This is not in the 5 cage because it's not in the cage at all. You can see it's not bounded. So that is a 5, I think, is what we've just found out. So that's not a 5. That's not a 5. We've got something else going. We've got a 21 cage or something at the top, I think, which must be... Well, we're coming into this square, so we've got at least a W pentomino of nonsense going on. Now we've got to colour that. Let's make it yellow so we can see it. And... Oh, hang on. Is that in the fog? Why is that in the fog? Is that digit wrong? Oh, it was a given digit, wasn't it? Oh, that's interesting. So because that's a given digit, it doesn't reveal the fog around itself. So I don't know what this digit is. I don't know. I was wondering whether this was... I couldn't understand how I had a 3 here next to a foggy cell, because it, you know, the fog is meant to be revealed by digits, but that was not a digit I earned. That was a digit I was given, so it's totally appropriate. Well, yeah, and let's think about that some more, because something I've just realised is that if this 21 cage was only 5 cells large, then it couldn't have a repeat in it. So that is yellow. So we've got to get outside the box in order to allow a repeat to happen. So, oh, hang on. Well, hang on. That cannot be the repeated digit in the 21 cage, because if it was the repeated digit, it would be next to that, which means it's not. It's an X cell. So this cage, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, is coming either to there or both of those next. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got 6 cells. We know it's at least 7 cells large, which is quite big. And it, well, we know it can only have... I was about to say it can only have 1 repeater, but that's not true, is it? If it took both of those cells, and both of those cells were repeaters within here, that probably wouldn't break the rules. I think it might you might get a Hayawaki type problem with shading. So maybe that's impossible. But this could grow a bit more actually. So maybe it is possible after all. Right. Okay. We're going to have to think of something else. Do we know anything about? Can we deduce what the repeated digit is in the 5 cage? We know it's not 1, 2, or 3 apparently, or 7. Okay, let's think about this. So it could be 4, I think. It can't be 5 because the 5's in the cage with it. Do we know anything about 6s? 6 is a digit I feel we just know nothing about, so it can be 6. It can't be 7. It could be 8 or 9. So 4, 6, 8, or 9. Now, what about that one? Is that the same? I think so. Oh, what? I can place 1. I've just realised in this box, because I've got a pencil mark 1 in those two. But if that was a 1, it would repeat there, and it would clash with the 1, 2 pair. So I get another digit up there, which does nothing, of course, and that's a counting 1 towards the 21 cage, for what that's worth. Bobbins. Oh, this is such a mess. It's giving me a headache. I'm so sorry if you're getting cross with me about this colouring. I know, I've apologised a few times already, but I have found it useful, to be honest. There have been a few points where I don't think I would have spotted something without it. Can that just be... No, that can't be in a cage because it couldn't have a repeat in it. So that earns an X up there. The 20 cage, do we know the maths of it? We've got an 8 or a 9 here. If that was 8, these would have to add up to 12 without being 4, 8 or 3, 9. They'd have to be 5, 7, which they couldn't be because there's 2 7s looking at the cage. Bobbins. So this is 9, I think. Oh, maybe it wasn't because it didn't reveal anything. Although maybe this area's all been revealed already. That gives me an 8, 9 pair here. Takes 9 out of my possible repeaters for the 5 cage. Has it done anything else? Well, it means that's not 8 anymore because that's already got an 8 in it. So that must be 9. That must be 8. That must be 8 by the power of Sudoku. Let's see if this keeps going for a bit longer. That 8 sees that cell, so that gives me a 9 and an 8 in the 20 cage, which now gives me a 9 and an 8. Oh, that, well, yeah, look at that. I was just wondering that does get revealed. That's an 8 now by Sudoku, so that's got to be a 9. So this is the 9 now in my 32 cage. So this column needs a 4, 5 or a 6 into this cell. I bet we can do the maths on this, you know. Because we now know these add up to 11, don't we? Without being able to use... Oh, hang on, what's going on here? Oh no, they're the same digit. I was thinking that's a 4, 5, 6 triple. I was thinking, how am I going to make that work if I don't have a 7? But it's not a 4, 5, 6 triple because those two are actually the same digit. So that cannot be a 4 because that would require a 7 there to make those three add up to 20. So it's a 5 or a 6, which means this is a 5 or a 6. This is weird now. So we've got double 5, 6 here, which makes the repeated digit a 4. So 4 comes out of the repeated digits for the 6, 8 cage, or for the 5 cage. That's not a 4. That's not a 4. That's not a 4. These are not 4, so there's a 4 in one of those, so that's not a 4. I've got a 5, 6 pair apparently in this column. I don't know where that's come from, but that seems to suggest I can put 8 into the 5 cage, which means I get a 9, 7 pair at the top of column 1, which apparently doesn't do anything. Okay. 8 seems to be placed in the corner up here by Sudoku. It is, and that gives me a 1, 7 pair beneath it, which please be resolved. No, it's not. Oh, right. Well, if that's yellow now. That's a yellow position for this cell. So we've sort of built a bird here at the top of the grid. There is a yellow bird clearly. Okay, well that's good, probably. 1, 2, 7 and 9. That is a 2 or a 9 by Sudoku, believe it or not. It sees a 1 and a 7. It's not going to be 9 because it's in a very small cage. Oh, I suppose. No, it's not going to be 9 because it can't repeat. It's apparently not a repeater. If that was a 9 and was real... Oh, hang on. Well, maybe it could be actually. I'm unsure. I'm going to carry on doing other things that seem easier than that. That's not a 2 anymore. That 1 is giving me my 1 and my 7 sorted out. I've hardly got any fog left, but that's not 7. That 7 is doing the 7 and the 9 I can barely see over on this side of the grid. No. 9 is in this cell or this cell in box 3. The same is true here. So I suspect we're going to have to choose the options that don't put it in the funny cage there. But no, I'm wrong, aren't I? Good grief. Is this right? Where does that digit go in box 3? Well, it doesn't seem to be able to be that cell, which I have labelled as a 4, 5 or a 6. I don't know why I've done that, but that's not completely unbelievable looking at it. It can't repeat within the birdie cage. It can't repeat in its own row. It's not equal to 7 or 8. So it goes there. by Sudoku, and it can't be a 2. So there is a 9, a counting 9. It did work as well. There is a counting 9. I've only got one fog cell left, which actually you can see, well, I don't know if there'll be a digit behind that, but it's not going to give me any cage knowledge, is it? Right, hang on. So what's this done now? I don't know. I feel like this is almost the final step though, because we've got, well, okay. Yeah, this is now not a repeat. Where does the repeat go in the canary cage? It's got to go there. And if that's a repeated digit, which creates another element of wall, where does it repeat? It's got to repeat there, which means all of these turn X, all of these turned X's. And what are we left with? We're left with 1, 2. That cannot be a repeater because there's nowhere for it to repeat. It sees the whole of the cage. We're left with 1, 2, 3, 4 cells having up. Oh, I think I've broken it. No, thank goodness. It's 3 cells that add up to 11, isn't it? Because we've got 1 and 9 is 10. 21 minus 10 is 11. Those 3 have to add up to 11 without using 1. So they, or 5 actually. Wow. So it is 2, 3, 6. It's 2, 3, 6 in these 3 squares. This is a 2, 3, 6 triple. That's huge. So hang on, let's put that in and see what it does. Well, it gives me that digit, which is the repeating digit. The repeating digit can't be 7, I'm just noticing as well. So that's got to be 7. It's a 4 that's repeating. Yes, it is a 4 that's repeating. Okay, so now might be the moment. Is there any point in me retaining all of the nonsense in the grid? I don't think so. Right, let us... Well, we'll at least get rid of the X's. I might leave the circles in so that we can just we can have a look at the repeats at the end. I'm assuming we're going to get to the end now, which is perhaps presumptuous of me, but I mean, I have done some very difficult fog of war puzzles, but I think this is the hardest actually. It feels the hardest to me. There's an awful lot of extremely interesting stuff going on in this puzzle. Oh gosh, that feels better, doesn't it? Oh dear, this might be a terrible video because I've made you all suffer through those dreadful pencil marks. Okay, so what do we need now? Well, that's got to be a 5 or a 6 by Sudoku. That digit has to go there by Sudoku, doesn't it? So it's not able. So it doesn't actually. Is that just true? I think that's just true. It can't repeat within its cage. It's not equal to any of those digits, so it must go there, and therefore that is a 6, which makes that a 5, that a 2. That's a 2 by Sudoku, which is possibly interesting, or possibly not. 2 is in one of those 2 cells at the bottom. These are not able to be 6, so they've become a 2-3 pair. These are not able to be 6 anymore. Okay, so 2 comes out of this square. We're left with a 4-6 pair into those positions. Oh, please, 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 don't be hard now. That would be so mean. It would be so mean. We might have to do some colouring on our 5s and 6s. It's not impossible. It's definitely not impossible. Okay, that digit's catching my eye because this digit can't go in those squares, can it, in box 8? And it's a 5 or a 6, so it's not able to go, so it must go there, so those must both be 5. These 2 squares are now, well, that's a 2, 6, 4 triple, so this is a 5 in the corner apparently, and that's now become a 2. which means this is now a 5, that's a 6, that's a 5, 5, 6, 6 goes here, 4 goes here, 6, 2, 4, come on, 2, 3, 3, 5, 6, 4, 6, 4, and 4, 6. Now, have I filled in all the digits? Yes. That is a long one, but I did manage to get through it. That is seriously challenging. Very, very interesting puzzle indeed. Mad interesting. Just start to finish, beautiful. Beautiful deductions. Just fascinating geometry and a fascinating rule set. And there were many moments where I thought I wasn't understanding it clearly. And you probably have all been shouting at me for many things, but I did really like that. It's a real exercise in sort of hidden geometry and what's possible and what's not possible, and there's arithmetic going on. Quality puzzle, AstralSky. Very, very impressive setting. And yeah, I found it very hard. Let me know in the comments how you got on. I do enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. I'm just going to put that in there just to make sure that I haven't breached the... I don't think I have breached the wall rule. I think it's all right. Yeah, I enjoyed the comments, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.